It was a calm and quiet afternoon in the neighborhood. The sun hung low in the sky, casting soft rays over the empty streets. The peaceful silence of the area was suddenly broken by a faint sound. A soft, pitiful whimper. It was coming from the side of the road, where a stray dog appeared, limping and clearly in distress. The dog's fur was matted, its body thin and weak, but its eyes, those eyes were filled with an urgency that could not be ignored. The dog was pacing back and forth, looking as though it was searching for something or someone. It would stop, glance around with an anxious expression, and then continue its journey, tail between its legs. But there was something different about the way it moved. It wasn't just wandering aimlessly. This dog had a purpose. A man was walking along the street, unaware of the drama unfolding just a few yards away. As he turned the corner, the stray dog spotted him. Immediately, its ears perked up, and it trotted towards him with surprising speed, despite its visible exhaustion. The dog's steps grew quicker, and then, almost as if guided by instinct, it stopped right in front of the man. For a brief moment, the dog just stood there, looking up at him with those pleading eyes. The man paused, taken aback by the unexpected encounter. He had always seen stray dogs around, but something about this one made him hesitate. It wasn't just the dog's physical state, though that alone could have pulled at anyone's heartstrings. It was the desperation in its gaze. The dog was looking at him like it was hoping for something important, something that only he could give. The man knelt down, reaching out to pet the dog, trying to comfort it, but the dog didn't want to be petted. Instead, it began to whine louder, its voice trembling with a note of panic. It circled around him, then abruptly sat down on the pavement, its head low as if it were gathering the strength to do something. The man looked around, wondering if the dog had an owner nearby, but there was no one in sight. It seemed like the dog had no one else to turn to. The man was about to stand up when, in an unexpected move, the dog began to nudge his leg, urging him to follow. Confused but curious, the man hesitated for a moment. The dog's frantic movements made it clear that this wasn't just a normal request. This was an urgent plea. It wasn't begging for food or a pat on the head. The dog was trying to communicate something far more serious, something that needed to be addressed right now. But what? With each passing second, the dog's cries grew more desperate, its eyes locking onto the man's, as if urging him to understand. The man's heart began to race. He had never seen a dog act this way before. There was something terribly wrong, and it was clear that this dog was trying to lead him to something. The question was, what was it? Was it hurt? Was it lost? Or perhaps, was there something more at stake here? Without thinking, the man followed the dog as it trotted ahead, its pace picking up. The dog led him down a narrow alley, its steps quick and determined. The suspense built as the man's curiosity began to rise, and his concern for the animal deepened. What could be so urgent that the dog was risking everything to get him involved? As they rounded the corner at the end of the alley, the man's heart skipped a beat. There, lying motionless on the ground, was another dog. This one was much larger, and its body appeared to be lifeless. The sight of it made the man's blood run cold. It wasn't just any dog. It was the mother of the stray, and from the looks of it, she was in trouble, severe trouble. The dog's breathing was shallow, its eyes barely open. The stray dog stepped forward, pausing to look back at the man, as if to say, "This is my mother. She needs your help. Please, save her." The man's heart pounded in his chest as he understood the gravity of the situation. The stray dog wasn't just lost or in pain. It was trying to save its mother. But how could he help? What could he do? The air felt heavy with the weight of the moment, and the man's mind raced as he tried to figure out the best course of action. The suspense was palpable. The man knelt down, his hand hovering over the mother dog. Could he do this? Could he save her in time? And what about the stray dog? Would it be okay? The clock was ticking, and every second felt like a lifetime. The uncertainty of the situation left the man with only one option: to act quickly. But how? The story was just beginning, and the shocking turn of events was about to unfold. The man's mind raced as he knelt beside the mother dog. Her breath was shallow, her body limp, and it was clear she needed immediate help. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He had to act fast. The stray dog, still standing by his side, was watching him intently, its eyes pleading for him to do something. The sense of urgency was overwhelming, but the man felt paralyzed by the sheer uncertainty of the situation. He didn't know what had caused the mother dog's condition, but one thing was clear: time was running out. He looked down at the mother dog, her eyes barely open. She seemed to be struggling to breathe, and the man could hear the faint rasping sound of her labored inhalations. The stray dog, meanwhile, had not left his side. It circled around him, whimpering anxiously and occasionally nudging his hand, urging him to hurry. The bond between the two dogs was undeniable. The stray was not just concerned for its mother, it was relying on the man to save her. The man swallowed hard, realizing how serious the situation was. His thoughts quickly turned to what he could do. Should he call for help? He reached into his pocket, grabbing his phone, but a quick glance at the screen showed no signal. The alleyway was too far from the main street, and there was no one else around to lend a hand. The man knew that if he didn't act fast, the mother dog might not survive. 1,000 thoughts ran through his mind. Could he carry her to a vet? He doubted he could get there in time. He didn't have the proper equipment to transport her safely, and even if he did, the risk of further injuring her was high. The mother dog needed immediate medical attention, and fast. But how could he get her help without risking her life further? He looked back at the stray dog, its eyes wide with fear and desperation. The poor creature was beside itself, trying to get the man's attention. It seemed to be almost begging him to do something, to find a solution. The man's heart ached as he realized how much the stray was relying on him. But the more he thought, the more he felt helpless. What could he do to save them both? He wasn't a vet. He had no medical training. And yet there was something about this situation that made him feel as though he couldn't walk away, not without at least trying to help. He glanced at the mother dog once more. Her breathing was growing more irregular, and he could see the fear in her eyes. The stray dog was nuzzling her, licking her face as if trying to reassure her, but it was clear that the mother needed more than just comfort. She needed a miracle, and the man was her only hope. It was then that a thought crossed his mind. What if there was something he could do here? Something simple that might make a difference. He recalled a time when his own dog had been sick, and he had taken him to a nearby animal shelter. The shelter was only a short walk from here, and maybe, just maybe, he could make it there in time. The man's heart surged with a glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was the only option he had left. With renewed determination, the man carefully lifted the mother dog, cradling her gently in his arms. He felt the weight of her body against him, and though she was heavy, he knew he had no choice but to carry her. The stray dog followed closely behind, its eyes never leaving the man and its tail wagging in tentative hope. It seemed to understand that the man was finally taking action. The man began walking quickly down the alley, his steps hurried but careful, knowing that every second counted. He glanced down at the mother dog, who seemed to have passed out from exhaustion. Her breathing was slower now, and the man could feel his own pulse racing. Was it too late? Would they make it? The shelter was within reach, but it felt like a lifetime away with every step he took. The stray dog trotted ahead, its small body darting back and forth in nervous anticipation. The man's heart raced faster, the weight of the mother dog in his arms, making it difficult to move as quickly as he wanted. As they neared the end of the alley, the man's thoughts were a blur. He could barely think straight with the pressure mounting, but all he could do was keep walking, keep pushing forward. The suspense was unbearable, and just when the man thought he couldn't go any further, he saw the shelter in the distance. Relief washed over him as he broke into a run, his muscles burning with effort. He had to get to the shelter, had to get the mother dog the help she so desperately needed. The stray dog continued to follow him, its pace quickening, and for the first time in a while, the man felt a sense of hope. He could see the shelter's sign now, and as he reached the door, the man knocked frantically, desperate for someone to answer. Would they be able to help in time? Or would the search for a solution come too late? The answers were still unknown, but the man's determination remained unshaken. There was no turning back now. The man stood at the door of the shelter, his breath coming in sharp, frantic gasps as he pounded on the door. The mother dog's condition seemed to worsen with every passing second. Her limp body was heavy in his arms, and he could feel her breaths growing more and more shallow, each one a painful reminder of how much time they had left. He could hardly believe how quickly the situation had escalated. It felt like just moments ago that he was simply walking down the street, unaware of the life-or-death situation unfolding right before him. But there was no time to dwell on that now. He knocked again, even more urgently this time, his heart pounding with fear and uncertainty. What if the shelter was closed? What if no one was there to help? Every instinct told him to keep going, to not give up, but the fear of failure gnawed at him. He couldn't lose these dogs, not now, not after everything they had been through. Just as he was about to knock once more, the door swung open. A middle-aged man, who looked like he had just been woken from a nap, blinked at him in surprise. He looked down at the mother dog in the man's arms, and then at the stray dog, who was still nervously pacing at the man's feet. The shelter worker's eyes widened in shock as he took in the situation. "What happened?" the worker asked, his voice filled with concern as he stepped aside to let the man inside. "Please, she's in trouble," the man said breathlessly, his voice breaking as he carefully laid the mother dog on a nearby table. "I don't know what's wrong, but she's barely breathing. She needs help. Now." The shelter worker didn't waste a moment. He quickly checked the mother dog's vitals, his hands moving with professional precision. The stray dog stood quietly by, watching intently, as if willing the worker to do something, anything, to save its mother. The man stood back, his heart racing with anticipation. He watched as the shelter worker's expression shifted from concern to confusion. "This is strange," the worker muttered, more to himself than anyone else. He continued checking the mother dog, feeling her pulse, looking at her eyes, and examining her breathing. Then he straightened up, his face now a mix of surprise and disbelief. "Sir, this isn't what it seems," the worker said, looking directly at the man. "This dog, it's not sick." The man stared at him, confused. "What do you mean? She's clearly in pain. She's—" "Look here," the worker interrupted gently, pointing to the mother dog's side. "There's a slight swelling here. It's not from illness. It's from, well, it looks like she's recently given birth." The man's jaw dropped in shock. The stray dog, which had been frantic with worry, now stood a little taller, its ears pricked up at the mention of birth. The worker continued to explain. "The mother is recovering from childbirth. She's exhausted and weak, but she's not in critical danger. It's just that her body is drained. She'll need rest, hydration, and food, and she should recover just fine." A wave of relief washed over the man, but it was quickly replaced by a deeper confusion. He had no idea that the mother had just given birth. It made sense, now that he thought about it. The exhaustion, the shallow breathing. But what about the stray dog? The one that had been desperately trying to lead him to the mother. Why had it been so insistent that he help? As if reading his mind, the shelter worker turned to the stray dog, which was now sitting quietly at the edge of the table. "This one," the worker said with a smile, "has been watching over her mother, hasn't it? It's trying to make sure everything's okay." The stray dog's eyes were soft now, its tail wagging gently as it watched the worker. The realization hit the man all at once. The stray dog hadn't just been looking for help out of desperation. It had been seeking out someone who could ensure its mother's safety. It wasn't just a dog in need of rescue. It was a guardian, doing everything it could to save its mother. The man felt his heart swell with emotion as he watched the two dogs together. The bond between them was unmistakable, an unspoken understanding that transcended everything else. They had survived together, and now, thanks to this unexpected turn of events, they were both going to be okay. The worker brought over some water and food for the mother dog, and the stray dog immediately approached, gently nudging her face with its nose. The man watched in awe as the mother dog slowly began to drink, her body starting to regain some strength. It was a small but significant victory, a glimpse of hope amidst the confusion and panic. "I didn't know what to expect when I came here," the man admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "But I never thought it would be like this." The worker smiled softly. "Sometimes things aren't always as they seem. You did the right thing by bringing them here. Now, they can both heal." The man nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the shelter worker's quick response and for the unexpected twist that had led him here. The story wasn't over yet, but for now, the dogs were safe, and that was all that mattered. As he watched the two dogs rest side by side, the stray dog finally curling up next to its mother, the man couldn't help but feel that something greater had just happened. The unexpected events had revealed a bond so strong that nothing could break it, a bond of love, trust, and survival. It was a story that would stay with him forever. The man stood quietly in the corner of the shelter, his heart swelling with a mixture of relief and awe. The once weak mother dog was now resting comfortably, her breathing steady and calm. The stray dog, who had been so frantic just hours ago, was curled up beside her, its small body pressed gently against its mother's side. The sight of them together, safe and sound, filled the man with an overwhelming sense of peace. The frantic energy, the fear, the uncertainty, all of it seemed to melt away as he watched the two dogs bond in their newfound safety. The shelter worker had given them both the attention they needed, fluids to hydrate the mother, a small meal, and time to rest. Slowly but surely, the mother dog's strength was returning. She raised her head to look around, her eyes no longer filled with panic, but with a quiet gratitude. The stray dog, ever watchful, glanced at the man every now and then, as if acknowledging that the crisis had passed. The man could hardly believe how far they had come in such a short time. Just hours ago, he had been standing on a quiet street, unsure of what he could do to help. Now, he was watching a mother and her child begin to heal, thanks to the kindness of strangers and the determination of a stray dog who had trusted him. It was a moment that would stay with him for the rest of his life. He walked over to the two dogs, kneeling down to their level. The stray dog's tail wagged as he approached, but it didn't get up. Instead, it seemed content to stay right where it was, its eyes reflecting a quiet trust. The man gently reached out, stroking the stray's fur and then moving to the mother dog, who seemed to relax under his touch. It was as if both dogs understood that they were safe now, that they didn't need to worry anymore. They were no longer alone. The shelter worker stepped over to the man, offering him a reassuring smile. "They're going to be fine. The mother just needed some rest. And the stray, well, I've seen a lot of animals come through here, but I've never seen a bond like that. You did the right thing by bringing them here." The man nodded, his eyes fixed on the two dogs. He couldn't believe how lucky they were. They had been so close to losing everything, perhaps even their lives, but now they had been given a second chance that so many others didn't get. It wasn't just the mother dog who had been saved that day. It was the stray as well, and in a way, it felt like the man had been saved too. He had been a part of something bigger than himself, something that was rooted in kindness, compassion, and the deep connection between animals and humans. As the hours passed, the shelter became quieter. The workers moved around, tending to other animals, but the man stayed where he was, watching over the dogs. It was getting late, and he knew it was time to go. But he didn't want to leave. Not yet. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was witnessing something beautiful, something that transcended the usual day-to-day struggles of life. This wasn't just about saving two animals. It was about the profound impact that one act of kindness could have. It was about how a single decision to help could change everything. The stray dog shifted, and the mother dog slowly got to her feet, moving a little unsteadily but with a new sense of strength. The two dogs stood side by side, looking up at the man, who smiled down at them. It was a simple smile, but it carried with it a world of meaning. He knew that their lives were forever intertwined now, that the bond they shared would never be broken. They had survived together, fought together, and now they had found a new life, a new beginning. And it was all thanks to one moment, one chance encounter on a quiet street. Before leaving, the man turned to the shelter worker one last time. "How can I help them now? Is there anything I can do for them moving forward?" The worker smiled, placing a hand on the man's shoulder. "You've already done more than enough. These two will be just fine, and they'll never forget what you did for them." The man nodded, knowing deep down that the stray dog and its mother had already given him a gift that was far more valuable than anything he could have imagined. They had shown him the power of empathy, the strength of a bond that nothing could break, and the true meaning of kindness. As he stepped out of the shelter and into the night, the man felt a sense of fulfillment that he couldn't quite describe. The world had seemed so chaotic and uncertain, but in that small, quiet moment, everything had made sense. He had been part of a story of survival, love, and the unexpected twists that life sometimes presents. He glanced back one last time at the shelter, the image of the two dogs resting together firmly etched in his mind. He knew that, in the end, this was the beginning of something wonderful, not just for them, but for everyone who believed in the power of kindness.